Hi, everybody, and welcome to Monday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise. Normally, I have intro music, but I have yet to figure out why this system is so glitchy. I have upgraded my internet cable from a Cat 5 to a Cat 6, and my speed test on my computer said that I have mega speed, but for some reason, there is it don't like Facebook, or Facebook doesn't like StreamYard, or I don't know. But anyway, that's my little bitch for today. I'm looking at myself in the recording and I have so much delay. It's just not even funny. The other thing that I've noticed is that the clock on my computer is not working. And so, I'm not really sure what to do with that. Um, I'm going to do that maybe. Okay. So, oh, that's not helping me. Okay. So just excuse me here for a second while I kind of pull my crap together. Because this. One. There we go. Okay. Yay, now I know what time it is. Alrighty, so I am sorry that I'm having like this little funky beginning. I thought I was all prepared and had all these technical difficulties worked out, but apparently the gods above say no. So before we start I start taking questions, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the concept of ascension. So I have to tell you, I am by no means any kind of ascension expert. However, several people have talked to me about it or asked me about it in radio interviews. And if you had asked me, you know, were we ascending? Were we moving from a third dimensional to a fifth dimensional reality? I would probably just laugh in your face because um, I just really didn't see that as being something that was possible. However, in the last couple of years, whether we ascend and move into a different vibration or not, there really has been a lot happening as far as who we are and where our energy is. And so when we change our internal dynamics, we are changing our energy. And so one of the things that I've been seeing that could be tied to this ascension concept is the concept of being clear, the concept of being able to um, own your own stuff. So I'm going to, in politics, you either like Trump or don't like Trump. You either believe COVID was real or not. You think the vaccines are real or you think they're a plague on society. It doesn't really matter what you believe, but more the fact that you believe something, and that thought process came from a certain level of inward looking to make that determination of this is what I think and this is what I feel. You see that a lot happening in relationships as well. The whole word narcissistic has become a buzzword right up there with gaslighting. And the only way you can tell you're being manipulated or being gaslit by someone is to understand who you are and what you value, and is what they're saying your truth. And I feel like in the last couple of years, people, sometimes the divide joins us all together. And I feel like in the last couple of years, regardless of what corner you take, it is causing people to look inside to see what they think, what they value, and then acting on those beliefs and acting on that concept. Now, this can take you one or two ways. You can raise your vibration, get more connected to source, more connected to spirit, more connected to God, and lighten yourself up. which means your vibration would be rising. Ah. Or you can get more attached to ego, which means, okay, so I've been reading this one Jewish book and I have no phonics skills. They talk about these Kelly pots, and it's probably chalupas or chalupa or something. And it talks about these shells and shells upon shells. And so you can get caught up in these shells of your own psychological making that make it so that you can't see the divine. You can only see yourself, and you can only see what you're going to get and what benefit you're going to receive from any given situation. So that's the level of the ego. And the further you get into that space, the lower your vibration becomes. And so it seems like, we have kind of these dueling factions of people getting more into ego. People that are narcissistic or have toxic personalities also often are very ego-based people. Or you can connect more with source and raise your vibration. And so traits of you connecting more to source would be, I have notes here. Hang on one second. You might feel lighter, or you might feel freer, or you might create boundaries for yourself and hold on to them. And then feels good when you do make those decisions. You might feel more open, or you might not be plagued by chronic rumination or worry. And so those are signs that you are connecting. And if we have time, or if I need to fill some time, I'm going to talk about getting into the flow, because when you're in relationship and a raised vibration, it is important to get in the flow and be in the flow. And I'll spend some time talking about that, but I'm going to save that for a little later. And signs that you are more in your ego is you want to have things your own way. And you have a very strong opinion about stuff. If you're more open, you might have a strong opinion, but you're willing to listen to someone else's and then make a determination, versus I have an opinion, I don't want to hear yours, and just cut them off at the knees. And so those would be indications that you are operating more from ego. So I have a couple of announcements before I start looking at what's going on in the chat room, because so if you were here last week, we had Light Peace Facebook bot chick who was hitting on every single guy in the chat room. And so because of that, I have installed my bestie, Cindy U-Turn Stash, as our hall monitor. And if you know me and you think that I speak American French, you haven't met her yet. So you just don't mess with Cindy, because she'll kick your butt right out. That's after I get done with you. Okay. And the other thing I just want to review kind of, how things operate with one little change. You're free to ask me anything you want, a generic question, about auras and chakras. We had a question about pendulums last week, about past lives. I don't really care, or you're more than welcome to ask a question that's a private question reading thing. Okay, I don't do dead people, so no dead people questions. Ghosts are one thing, dead people something else, and I don't predict the future. So if you ask a question about, is this going to happen to me next week, I probably won't answer it. What I'm asking this time is that if you have a question, or if you want me to actually read your post and possibly put it up on screen, if you could put it in all caps for me, because then I'm not reading through the banter that's going on in the comment area, and it'll be easier for me to follow. So again, no dead people, no future predicting, and all caps. And if you have a comment that you want me to read, please do put that in caps, because then I'll read it. And if it's a really cool comment and I like it and it makes me sound really good, then I will totally put it up on the screen. Okay, so let me put my little banner up. Okay, so Dr. Rita is in the house. So if you have any questions, and I'm going to kind of scroll through the chat thing right now, please start posting them and I will get to you in a minute. Okay, so hi, Miss Kim. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. And then we have MD, who I don't know what he's posting, not really anything. Cindy, you might want to take a look at him. Hey, Mr. Blind Dog. Hi, Oofy. All right, she has a question. I'm just going to kind of scroll down here real quick. Hey, Miss Kelly. All right, so Oofy has a question, and the question is, and remember, after this, all caps. Okay. Should one prefer believing over thinking, or vice versa? Oofy, both of those can kind of get you in trouble, because in either of those, the ego can step in and kind of overrun what is going on. Now, if you're thinking and there's a good feeling tied to it, or if you're believing and there's a good feeling tied to it, or a sense of upliftment, there needs to be a different part. Then you are getting more in the flow, working on raising your vibration versus, okay, not meaning to offend anybody, but, the first thing that comes to my mind is, a very fundamentalist person who has their set of beliefs, or their thoughts, and they walk around with their little box on their head, and they're not open to receiving anything outside of that, and so, part of being open, part of being aware and emotionally aware is the ability to listen, actively listen, and the ability to empathize with other people. And so if there can't be this dynamic that's happening, then you're really not in a very high vibration. Because if your belief is the only belief that's allowed, you have shut down the flow of energy being exchanged between the two people or the situation or whatever. And that is a very ego-based place to be. Okay? Hope that answers the question. I'm sure you'll follow up if not. Okay, let's see. Okay, hi, Miss Joy. So she asked, can you give some examples of, you didn't put it in capitals, Joy, some examples of questions that don't include the things you mentioned. Maybe I don't specifically need a reading. Well, examples would be, a question about your job, or a question about a relationship, or somebody that not a reading for them, but a reading about, your relationship with them. I will entertain, questions about children. Actually, if you ask me a past life question, I'm okay with that. Okay. So I guess she got the message because she has a follow-up here. Okay, so let's see. We'll just jump down. Veronica, I am going to come back to you. All right. So, and you guys, caps. All right. So Joy put, however, I'm always open to hearing about myself, things I need to change, or areas I need to improve in my life. Okay, Joy. So let's just take a look at what's going on. Joy, when I look at your energy, I just am sensing that there's a lot of discouragement in your space right now. I feel like and I'm going to say what you want or what you think you want, and then there's what's been going on. And I feel like there's a big discrepancy between the two, which has been leaving you feeling unhappy or frustrated or some negative, not happy thing. So the biggest thing that I'm feeling for you is to have whatever that is be okay, and not have it become such a sticking point with everything that is going on inside of you. Like I said, I feel like there's just a lot of emotional energy kind of tied to that. I mean, I feel like you know what you need to do, but it's not, like I said, moving in the way that you wanted to. So maybe reevaluate, readjust, and then just allow. That was one of the things I was going to talk about, was allowing. you know I've been talking a lot about ego, and when our ego gets involved, our ego says, but this is what I want. you know I want that Christmas tree, and I want it to be green, and I want it to be 5 feet tall. And sometimes you can't find one that you like. And so there's a level of accepting, and that's a really terrible example. Um, Accepting and allowing, and then finding the positive in what's going on. I work with some clients who, are sick or have some kind of physical limitation. They've hurt themselves, and so now they're not moving around the way they were before. And they get really frustrated, and they're like, well, I can't do this anymore, and I can't do this anymore. And I really work with them to shift their attention to, this is what I can do now. And just really being honest, this is what I can do now. And then if you can go and climb up a flight of stairs, and that's like a 300% improvement, then you can accept it as a 300% improvement versus, well, I used to go up the stairs 5 or 6 times a day. And so I think taking that time to look at where you're at, acknowledging it, accepting it, having that be all right, and then looking for the benefit in that would be good. Again, allowing, accepting. Sorry, getting a little candy thing here. Okay, great, Oofy. All right, so Veronica, her question is, how do you discern guidance from a divine guide versus guidance from not divine guides? Actually, I was having this conversation with someone the other day on the same interview that we were talking about ascension. Surprisingly, you must have been having a little psychic moment. Okay, so I always tell people that spirit nags. Spirit will tell you the same thing over and over again. So if you ask a question, spirit will give you an answer. Now, what I have found in a little piece of fine tuning is that if it's a deeper message, spirit tends to talk in very small intervals. You'll get a phrase. So for myself, for example, one day I got this message, and it said, it's time. I'm like, time? Time for what? And it was like, oh, time for you to start a radio show, which was not even on my agenda or radar. And so that's one of the ways they do it, is in just very short statements. Well, what should I be doing? You need to go back to school. And then you ask a couple of weeks later, well, what should I be doing? You need to go back to school. So if you ask a question, they will give the same answer over and over again. If it's not coming from divine guidance, I love your question. There is always, not always, but many times, there will be anxiety tied to it. Well, you need to do this, and you need to hurry, and you need to do this, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel right. And so, part of it is really getting the message, but then how does it make me feel? If it doesn't make you feel good, if it doesn't make you feel uplifted, then maybe the guidance isn't divine guidance. Now, there's a big now, but tied to this. If what you're asking the question about has a lot of emotional charge to it, such as, should I end this relationship? Um, you have to be really clear. You know, actually, I'm going to say it in a different way. You know, when you're looking to get divine guidance, it's really important to make sure that you're not in a triggered place. You know, so if you're really upset and going, oh well, this guy's a jerk, you know, maybe I should get rid of him. You know, spirit, what should I do? Um, Probably not the best place to be asking for high level answers. You know, and so that would also be something that you would want to make sure that you're not, you know, don't have an activated stress response going on when you are asking for guidance. And so I hope that makes sense. Veronica, if you have a question to follow up, just post it below in caps. Sorry. Hi, Pamela. Okay. So this is Marlena, I think, and she's in all caps, so good girl. Okay. I am curious to know if I am ready to meet my universal space brothers and sisters. Okay, so I I'm I could go a lot of different ways with this. So, you know, my knee-jerk reaction to that question is, are you hoping to get abducted? You know, on a physical level. Um, you know, my secondary reaction is, you've already met your universal space brothers and sisters. You know, the ones that live on the energetic spectrum. I feel like they communicate with you fairly regularly and that you're open to hearing their commentary. Many times you identify them as your higher self or some other word, but you know, a non corporeal being is a non corporeal being, and a non corporeal being that doesn't exist on, like, does never existed on the earth, um, would be a space brother and sister, if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave that there. Please follow up with me and clarify if I did not answer your question. Okay, so we have John, the Bubs, in the house who has a new baby, and he's so cute. So cute. Okay. Okay, Robert. Well, this ought to be interesting. Um, okay, so I haven't read this yet, but if you like my answer, I think you need to give me a plug. Okay, so I'm scheduled to record an interview with Coast to Coast tonight on the subject of aliens and UFOs. I'm worried what this all means for my immediate future. Is this going to lead to a new career or a positive thing in my future? Um, okay, so Robert, I've been on Coast to Coast several times, so here's just like an insider thing. Um, you need to own the mic. George will ask questions, and energetically speaking, and you know, I love George, but he kind of, his energy drifts off, and so you really need to hold your space in that interview. Just saying. Um, you know, it's hard for me because that's kind of like predicting the future. But what I, you know, to tell you if it's going to lead to a positive career, but I feel like there's going to be some really good learnings you're going to get from that interview. I feel like, you know, there's a whole fear factor that you are going to get to, you know, work through. Um, you know, I just keep getting the same thing though. It's like, check your nerves at the door. You know, make believe you're talking to a really good group of friends that are so interested in what you have to say, and keep talking and don't really wait for the questions. Just fill the space because you will do good then. versus having the dynamic be the other way around. And I just feel like you'll feel lost and confused. So if you're out there and you're dynamic and you're owning the mic, your perception of the results is going to be a lot better. And the better we can feel as speakers, as presenters, about who we are and how we project ourselves out into the world, people pick it up, shows pick it up, hosts pick it up, and you become somebody that other people want to talk to. I used to have my show, Just Energy Radio, and they were my go-to guests. And then there were other people that you would ask them a question and they would provide no answer. And I found myself as a host in several occasions filling the airtime because, I would ask a generic question and I would get two sentences. So now I am answering the question or, asking and answering the question and then saying, so what do you think? And I would get two sentences. So don't be that person. Don't be that person. It will be bad. Okay, so I'm just wondering, are you the second guest? Are you the super late night person? My suggestion also would be to take a shower, an hour or so before you go live so that you're awake, because that is just so late, especially in Texas time. So anyway, Robert, I think you're going to do great if you heed my advice, and you just never know where that is going to take you. Okay? All right. So Joy, I'm guessing that my answer was okay. Okay. So Kim said no coughing. I can't be sick this year. So Kim, I'm not coughing because I'm sick. I get a little cough because my mouth gets really dry from like talking incessantly. Shocking as that may be. So I put a lozenge in just, because. Okay. All right. So I'm like scrolling back up for a second. All right. So Veronica, in response to her, how do you discern good information from bad? And she put, well, yeah, I am psychic. So then this all, girl? Okay. All right. So let's see. Oop. I don't know who Connie Willis is. So that might be really good. Again, keep engaged. Actually, okay, so now that you gave me another little piece, because I was like putting you with George, I get the impression, Robert, that you're going to have a great time. I get the impression that Connie is very engaging. I feel like it's going to be just a really nice, sit around the table kind of conversation. I feel like she's going to make you feel relaxed. And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So that's good. Okay, so now we have Chesum Tarot in here, and Chesum Tarot needs to go. She said, Pamela, this is kind of bullshit. Pamela Kirsten, hello, beautiful soul. I would love to give you some insight and clarity. I pick up a lot of energy from your full profile. Message me now for it. You're blessed. Okay, so girl, Chesum, whoever the hell you are, you need to go. So Miss Cindy, from what I understand, you can go in the list of people that are messaging, and there should be like 3 dots or something, and you can block them. So everyone, hopefully we're going to say goodbye to Chesum Tarot, girl, and you go away. I would speak some American French, but I'm going to hold off. But Cindy, I know you're on top of this. But yeah, she needs to go away. And yes, troll. Wow, you're going to be a feature on Christmas on Christmas Day night. Okay. Robert, you are very welcome. Oofy, why do you ask me this stuff that I never know? All right, dream interpretation. I don't do dream interpretation. I don't really dream particularly. And if I do have a dream, it's always a bad dream, so I don't really want to remember it. But let me look, see if anything comes through. Pink cells in Petri dish solution dividing into pink snowflakes. Mm, I got nothing, Oofy. I mean, I really, honestly, I do dead people more than I do dreams. And okay, thank you, Miss Kim, for sticking up for my show. All right, so let's see. Okay, so we have Dee Dee in the house. Hi, Dee Dee. Nice seeing you. Yeah, it was spam. Hey, Amy McCartney. McCartney. Okay, so here's the rules. Um, if you have a question, please type it in the comment section in all caps. I know you do, so I'm just like giving you the update. Um, and I will kind of keep scrolling and hopefully I will find something. Okay. And Cindy, you can just go ahead and delete her. I have zero tolerance for that. Oh, well, I'm going to post this one. Wait. So Pamela says, I like the energy in here and your energy, Rita, even if we have body people that are annoying and trying to take my guests from me. But I try. It's usually pretty fun. So you're welcome here. Bring your friends. I mean, this really is an open forum for you or anyone that wants to come and participate. Okay. All right. So we still got plenty of time if you still want to ask some questions. It won't let you. Huh. Okay. Well, all right, Cindy. I'm not really sure what. Well, it seems like she's gone, so that's good. Um, I'm going to have to do some more research on that. I mean, it said that you could click on them and there would be a thing that says that you could block them. I don't really know. Okay. All right. So Amy wants to know, how about my kids getting used to Chuck? All right. So I'm not going to disclose any personal information here. Well, too much. Um, Amy, it's very interesting the response that I got. Um, it's not Chuck that they're worried about. They're more worried about you, and they're more worried about you getting hurt. I don't get the impression that they have an issue with Chuck. Um, I, me kind of interpreting their energy is, take it slow, take it one day at a time, and see what happens. Um, you went through a whole big thing in your last relationship and they saw how devastated you were by the loss and they don't want you to have to experience that again. So again, I don't really feel like it is about Chuck. It is more about them being concerned about you and your well-being. And so I think that that's really admirable on their part. Um, I mean, I get the impression that Chuck is a nice guy. Um, I don't see that there's anything to not necessarily like. Again, they just don't want you to get hurt. So, and that's okay. I don't really see that they're trying to push him away or push him out of the way. So that's good. Okay, so Pamela asked a question, and I'm going to put it up, but then I'm going to take it down right away. So she's asking, what should I do career-wise? So Pamela, if you could, I'm going to give you a follow-up chance. Um, Maybe pick 2 or 3 areas you are interested in doing or things that you like. I mean, that's kind of predicting the future. Um, and so if you could reframe that into a little bit better question, I'd appreciate that. Okay, bye. All righty. So Blind Dog says, you're awesome. That's right. Hey, Mr. Mike McCaskill. Okay, so I'm guessing that we got rid of Miss Reading Bot person. Yay. Okay, so I have got to the bottom of the list. So if anybody else has a question or a follow-up, please. Oh, Pamela got back to me right away. All right, so let's see. Hospital, so career-wise, hospital/nursing home. I was thinking of applying to laundry job, not sure, or recreational job. Wow, that's a pretty that's a pretty big variety of different things that you could be doing. Let's see. I'm going to kind of take this in a different twist than you maybe would think. I feel like something that's very important to you. Well, there's a couple of things that are very important to you. One, that you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I don't feel like any of those jobs would fall in that category. And two, I feel like it is very important for you to have a certain amount of freedom in the things that you do, and that you're kind of not being micromanaged, and there's a certain level of autonomy that you have in what you're doing. It's not that you don't mind following rules or enacting procedures, um, but you could not handle being in like a where people are just like watching you all the time and observing and taking notes. I feel like you would hate that. Um, I feel like you would prefer jobs where, that you kind of work with people, but you're kind of left alone. I feel like the hospital/nursing home job would be kind of trying for you. Um, it's interesting if you were doing work that was more on the administrative end of that kind of care, I think it would work. But if you are doing more on the resident side, that it would just burn you. It would, no. I'm just going to say no. I feel like your longevity there would be um, kind of short. And if you did stick it out, um, it would just take away from you and eat away from you. So I'm not really feeling it. I feel like it is the one that would probably pay the most. Um, but I feel like that there would be consequences for that, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Wow. Mr. Blind Dog actually has another question this week. Woo. Okay. Question. What do you feel about gray aliens in relationship to the Nephilim? Well, I don't feel anything about gray aliens in relationship to the Nephilim. Okay, so here's my Nephilim spiel. Um, Pam, I will come back to you. Here's my Nephilim spiel. So if you read in Genesis, just prior to the flood, Genesis says, and in those days the Nephilim walked the earth, and then the sons of gods mated with the daughters of men, and their offspring were the Geborim. Now, most people make I don't know, they take the whole thing out of context. They look at the book of Jubilees and the uh, Septuagint, which I don't know where they got those translations, but whatever. So if you look at the mythic record, so Nephilim is a Greek word and it means earthborn. So if you look at Greek mythology and other mythology, prior to the race of humanity, the giants walked the earth. And so when they make that statement, and in those days, the giants walked the earth, check. It was a true statement. The giants did walk the earth based on mythology. That was one of the reasons of the flood, is that the giants weren't obeying the gods the way they and weren't worshiping them the way they wanted to be, and so it was an elimination. Um, and so the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men were the Geborim, the men of renown. And so if you look at other cosmologies, it's like when you have a god mate with a human, you end up with a demigod. Hercules, Perseus, um, are demigods. And so they splatter all across mythology. Some of them have the characteristics, they possess godly characteristics, and some of them are very mortal, but they do exist. And those are the Geborim. They weren't giants. The giants were on the earth. I don't know. I get into a lot of pissing matches with people on that one. So, um, no gray aliens. I mean, unless the gray aliens were the sons of God, which I'm not really feeling, because if the mating, so in the Ramayana, there were the Vinara, and the Vinara were created with a melding of the sons and daughters of Vishnu, who impregnated the bears and apes of the earth to create this group of Vinara who fought with Rama against the demon god of Lanka. So again, they were all demigods and they had higher intelligence, etc., etc. And so it would be, we would look gray alien like if that was the connection, but we don't, So I feel like the gods that are talked about in those two passages were Caucasoid, because that is how we ended up. Okay. Okay, so we're back to Pamela's job situation. I was going to apply to laundry at hospital, nursing home, because I want to be away from people. Well, that's right. But see, I didn't get that it was the laundry at the hospital. But that was kind of what, okay, all right, but then she put, I don't know if it was the right choice, but yes, you're banging on. Thank you. Yeah, I think that that's a perfect job for you. It's around enough people, but not really around people, and they'll kind of leave you alone, let you do your thing. There's enough variety. Yeah, no, I think it'll be good. Hopefully they let you, wear earbuds, or a headset while you're working, so you can kind of keep yourself busy, mentally busy while you're doing that work, because then it would be perfect. Okay. All right, Mike has a question. I don't know that I want to read it, but I'm going to read it anyway. Can your viewers benefit from saying prayers during winter solstice? I mean, I think anybody can benefit from saying prayers. Prayers are a act of mindfulness. It helps to slow you down. It helps to bring your attention and focus to doing something. Praying can be a form of meditation. So hopefully my listeners, utilize meditation and mindfulness practices more than just on the winter solstice, that they incorporate them, into their daily lives, or at least as a regular part of their lives. I think that would be much better. Um, so, I mean, in any way, you would have to like celebrate winter solstice in order to want to say prayers on it. Like, okay, so Mike goes on. So we might have to agree to disagree. It's important to spirituality, the solstice, that is. Eh, I got no opinion about it. I've never been drawn to it. I mean, I think there are spiritual traditions that hold it in high prestige. I'm not one of those people. And so I have never felt gypped in any way in not honoring or celebrating that holiday. Hell, I'd rather have Passover. At least there's good food. Damn it. Okay. All right. Well, we got 14 more minutes, but I think this is a good place to kind of fill some time. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I think Mike's comment is a good segue, is about getting into the flow. And when we are in the flow, I'm going to just say it this way: the universe works through us. It comes in and it manifests into the physical plane. And, and so, okay. Um, and so when you pray, when you do things that are mindful, it is a point. Huh? Okay, Mike, I'm just going to say, okay, please explain my purpose in asking. Okay, I'm moving that to the side. So when you're praying, or when you're meditating, or when you are dancing, or when you are cleaning your bathtub, especially if you're really pissed off and you're going to make sure you have a really clean bathtub, you can get into that flow. Your focus becomes singular, and it allows all of the other stuff to just kind of fall off of you and drain off of you, so that spirit can work through you. Because it's all these little Klingons that we have, the argument that you had at work, a disagreement here, your car wouldn't start, all of these create little knots and crinkles in your space. And so when you meditate, when you pray, when you become mindful, when you do these things, it allows all of those little distractions that can and do build up to fall off. In ancient and indigenous cultures, okay, so I'm going to read Mike's comment, and then I'm going to go back because it kind of fits. Winter solstice was about having a specific holiday to set intention. Okay, so kind of adding on to that, in ancient and indigenous cultures, they had, holidays, and rituals and different things. Okay. Where they would have these ceremonies, whether it was somebody was getting married, or it was time for the young men or the boys to become men and have the ritual of circumcision, or of tattooing, or scarification, or there were issues going on in the community and they felt that doing a ritual would help cleanse and raise the vibration, it was the community that did these things. And so, we often see images, okay, I date myself, but I remember watching F Troop on TV, and they had the Hekawi Indians, we're the Hekawi Indians. And they would be doing, like a dance around the fire. And, from Western eyes, it always just seemed like, what are they doing and why are they doing it, etc. But they were creating ritual. They were doing things to create that singular focus. But it wasn't just the people doing the dancing. It was also the people that helped to sanctify the space. It was the ritual purification that they would do before the ceremonies. It was the ceremonial foods that they created. That there was this whole series of events that would happen that would come from a very mindful place, so that by the time they got to the place where they're dancing around the fire and looking to connect with spirit, everyone in the community has already shed all of these little tendrils of junk from them. And so they all had the opportunity to clean their energy and let go of ego. So I can only imagine, what a different vibe it was then versus now, where we sit on our phone or we're on TV, we're sitting in front of our computer, chatting, surfing Facebook, where we never have that opportunity unless we invest in it to let go and come back into ground. All right. So let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the question, but I have to put this up here. So Mary said, "You are very wise. You provide valuable information to people. Thank you for your insightful, caring advice." Thank you, Mary. All right. All right. Susan says, "Hi, Susan. I've been a little off lately and I just can't figure out why. Not holiday blues type off. Do you happen to get anything from me?" Let's just see. Okay, so I'm kind of going out on a limb here a little bit, Susan. So hopefully where I'm going is correct. And please, if I'm hitting, if you could just comment, I would really appreciate it. Um, but I'm getting the feeling about a loss that you experienced, but not a recent loss, that there was a loss a number of years ago that happened around this time frame. And let's see, so why is that coming up? Well, and kind of tied to that, I'm just feeling like you are feeling a little bit lonely. Um, and just really wish that there was someone that you could, and I'm going to say it this way, and I hope you can hear me, that you can share with on a deeper level, and I don't mean like necessarily in a sexual way, but just have a more of a heart to heart connection with. Again, doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. But I just feel kind of this isolation around you, this sadness around you, again, and the sadness feels like what I would expect the sadness being, which was tied to a loss. So I don't know if if someone transitioned around this period of time, or if there was a relationship that ended around this period of time. So please let me know. Yes. So she thinks I got it. Wow, even this thing is really taking a long time. Okay, so Susan, if that has been, I mean, because it seems really clear to me, that's why I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go there. And so if it was someone that you were close to, maybe pull out the photo album and appreciate them, and love on them and send them your regard, you know. Okay, hang on. And I'm not going to follow up on this piece of the question, but well, I was looking to see if they're around you, and I'm not really getting that. I just keep feeling this missing part from you, and so own that and honor that and respect that. And, sometimes we can be sad and be happy at the same time, if that makes any sense at all, so we can grieve with a loss, but be happy because we got to know that person at the same time. Okay, so she wrote, it all makes sense. It's my mom. She didn't pass around this time, but it's her favorite time of year, and it's always hard without her. See, I just didn't really, well, so I'm guessing that I resolve your question. I'm not going to try to answer that. Thank you so much. Perfect. So she said that she's going to do more than honor her this year. Okay, great. Okay, so Susan, I'm just going to throw one more thing out. And I don't talk to dead people, um, but I get the impression that your mom had a favorite meal, a favorite Christmas ornament. I don't know, a favorite something that you didn't really care for. So either make it or pull it out or whatever that would be, because that will make her so happy. Just saying. Okay. All right, so we have 4 minutes left. We only had one RoboBot person turn up to kind of be a pain in the butt, but they seem to be gone. Yes. Good, good, Susan. Um, so for anyone here that's listening, this is a public forum. And so please invite your friends to join and participate. If there's someone that that might be interested, encourage them to, hang on, I'm going to change this little banner to like my Facebook page, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook. And it will make it so that they can gain access to um, the live feed without being my Facebook friend. I mean, I guess it would show up in the event page, but again, this is not a closed event or public private event um, for anyone. Okay, so Ufi wants to know, what's my favorite holiday consumable? Okay, so my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. And this is my Thanksgiving, even though it passed already, but my Thanksgiving secret, I will admit. So for years, I have hosted Thanksgiving because if you make the turkey, no one can complain about how you carve it. And so I would take the turkey out of the oven, take the stuffing out because I love stuffing, take the stuffing out, and then very carefully cut the skin off the breast, because it carves easier that way. I'm telling you, it does. And then take my piece of skin and put it in a kitchen cabinet. And then everyone would sit down for dinner. And then I would go get my little secret piece of skin and then take strips of skin and put stuffing in it and roll the stuffing up in the skin, dip it in gravy and eat it. That is my favorite holiday thing. And yes, the turkey's thawed in time. Shut up, Cindy. Okay, so so we will be here. I will be here again next week. I don't have my calendar up, but I'm assuming I still have some time before Christmas happens. please invite your friends, or if you know anyone that is going through a struggle or a period where they need some help. Again, I have them like Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook. You can always go to soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com. And you can schedule a private consultation with me, which obviously is going to go into a lot more depth than we do in these little mini readings. And, obviously they're private, so you can spill your beans and we can talk about it. All right. So it is time for me to go. I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Monday Night Live. Until next week, be blessed. Maybe. There we go.